Hey, what's up PBS crew? Photos, beards, and sneakers. I'm excited about today. It's another edition of Foto Friday, and we're going to talk anything and everything photography today. Last week we talked about the exposure triangle. We gave simple and quick definitions of what each of those are: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. We talked about those really quickly. We ran over them really quickly. There's a lot more in-depth stuff that we can talk about, and like I said, in future videos we probably will. What I want to talk about today is what exposure actually is. So we talked about the triangle and what's involved in exposure, but what is exposure? There's something called underexposure, overexposure, or underexposed and underexposed, overexposed. And we're going to get into just a quick, simple definition of exposure and what that means. I'm going to show you two quick photos of something that's been underexposed, overexposed, and then maybe I'll throw in that semi just right exposure photo. So exposure is defined as this. Real quick definition, very difficult and complex. In photography, exposure is the amount of light per unit area reaching the photographic film or electronic image sensor as determined by the shutter speed, right, lens aperture, and sense luminance. Basically ISO. That's a pretty complex definition. A lot of big words I cannot afford to buy in a game of Wheel of Fortune. But real quick, simple definition of exposure is it is the end result of the exposure triangle. When you put all three of those things together, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, when you put those things together in a correct combination, the correct equation, you're going to get the correct exposure, which essentially just means the right amount of light coming in to your camera and into your camera sensor. If you're incorrect on one of those three areas, you're going to get underexposed, you're going to get overexposed. I'm going to show you guys a quick photo of something that was overexposed, which means it was just too much light, too much exposure coming in, it's exposed to too much light essentially. This was a couple of weeks ago, a week ago now, where I was at a UCLA football practice, and I think this was my very first shot of the practice. And as you can see, it's really bright. It's not blurry per se, but it's really bright. But it just seems like there's a lot of light coming in. It is actually kind of blurry. It is blurry. A lot of light coming in, and you can't see the numbers of the players and stuff like that. And so that is an overexposed photo. That means I let way too much light come in, which means that my shutter speed was either too low, or my aperture might have been too low, or even my ISO was too low. So that's one that is overexposed. In that photo you see it's just basically dark, almost like I took it at nighttime, and so what you see is the shutter speed was too fast, which means I didn't let enough light in, or the aperture might be too low, which also means I didn't let enough light in, because I'm trying to maybe blur the background or something like that. So you got to know how to work that equation, which we'll talk about in a future video. But I just wanted to kind of show you that that's overexposed, that's an underexposed, and this one is what is considered a good exposure, or right, perfect exposure. And the reason why you know that is there is a exposure line that you see when you look through your eye hole. That it has little rivets in it. Right in the middle you should have a triangle. That's basically your exposure triangle. You can move it with the jog dial, is what they call it. That's what it's called, jog dial. You'll see mine I think is in green, so yours might be in green or yellow, but you'll see, you're looking through your hole and you see that jog dial's off over here. What you do is you scroll that jog dial over till it's right in the middle. That's going to change your shutter speed, but what's going to happen is it's going to affect, it'll make sure that your exposure is right. Anyways, I hope this was a help to you guys. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys tomorrow for Beard Saturday. Photos, beards, and sneakers. Photos, beards, and sneakers. I don't like that. Photos, beards, and sneakers. I don't like that.